Hello everyone, Justin Morgan here, and in this video I'm going to talk to you about some of the language learning techniques and things that are probably that have done the most for bringing me up to fluency and helping my language learning. So specifically, over the past number of years, my focus has been on Greek, and I had previously studied a little bit of Latin, but not a whole lot. I had studied Spanish for a number of years, but Latin obviously is not the same language as Spanish, and in general, they're not even really mutually intelligible to one another, but there are some commonalities, so it helps that some of the vocabulary is overlapping in them. Some of the vocabulary from Latin has continued in Spanish, but not a whole lot. So the average Spanish speaker, when they hear Latin prayers, can make out words here and there, but in general, they're not able to understand it. So it is a completely different language. And in this picture, you can see me. I'm actually visiting Greece here. You can see the Aegean Sea is in the background. I am at one of the monasteries at Mount Athos. I spent most of my time at Varopedi Monastery while I was there, and this one, and that was my favorite kind of place to visit. I stayed there for the most of the time while I was there. But this is actually at another monastery called Panakrator. And they have this neat little balcony that overlooks the sea, so I got a picture there. And yeah, so that was pretty cool. I'm going to move on from that, though. That was just kind of to set it up. Yeah, so this is some of the stuff here. I got cut up quite a bit working out on the mountainside. I was able to visit really cool places, actually. And this is some of the work that I did. You can see on there. Lots of cats everywhere at Mount Athos, which is kind of surprising. Lots of good people, lots of good friends. This is the room I stayed at Varopedi, and yeah. So again, more pictures, kind of the Aegean Sea. This is the Russian monastery that's there. Panteleimon, I think is what it's called. So there's a Russian monastery on Mount Athos. There. So anyways, that's all neither here nor there, but I was able to go there. I would not say I learned a lot of new vocabulary or a lot of Greek while visiting, but I hadn't done a lot of talking. There's a few Greek people that I go to church with, and just speaking with them, they'll say things every now and then, but they're not my language teachers. They're friends, and your friends don't want to sit down and teach you language. So I don't spend a whole lot of time speaking in Greek with them. But while I was visiting Mount Athos, I will say that the vocabulary that I knew, I had been studying for about 2 years at that point, and the vocabulary that I knew suddenly started to become very active. I was able to recall, and over the course of the week, I went from the beginning of the week where I was speaking with people and they would immediately switch over to English, to when I left Mount Athos and was going to the airport. I did an entire order and spoke to the woman that was in the airport at one of the restaurants there, and had an entire conversation. Everything with her was in Greek, and she never switched to English, even though I had heard her speaking English with people beforehand. So that's something to kind of note. But since then, my language skills as far as like active vocabulary and output speaking has probably regressed a bit. But my ability to comprehend has increased. So I think that's kind of a good thing to note. I always know that, within a few weeks of focusing on speaking, that I can bring my speaking skills up significantly, as long as my comprehension skills are very good. So most of my language learning actually focuses on not speaking, but on comprehending, either listening or reading, and then writing is the only real output that I typically do. But today I want to talk to you about a method in language learning that I have found to be very effective. And it is called the Diglot weave method. It is one of the, it was tested out back in the 60s, in the 1960s, and it was found to be very effective for causing people to acquire language. And what they would do is they would weave vocabulary into texts, which you can see here. I purchased a book because I wanted to see what this was like and how it worked out in other ways. And this was the Brothers Grimm, and it was made with these Diglot weave. And this is, I think it's called Prisma Text is the app, and I wouldn't say it's like the greatest thing. There's not a ton of vocabulary, and I haven't necessarily found this to be like a method that I would highly promote as being useful through these books. I think it could be, but it's just I don't know. I haven't found it to work that well. But where I have found it to be very effective is when making flashcards. So what I would do then is, and I haven't actually used this book, so I'll show you how I do actually use this method in a moment, but you could technically, if you're using this, use a book like this when you come across vocabulary words, take something and make flashcards with them. So I usually take about 30 flashcards, and I'm going to make a deck with you in a moment and show you how I've been doing that. But what I would do is take 30 flashcards per day. That sounds like a lot, but it's actually the same 30 words for 3 days in a row. So it's actually only 10 words, but each card of the 10 vocabulary words that you learn has 3 cards. So you end up doing quite a bit with it. But you can see here, if I'm reading the story, it says at the top, "We was gone to the bottom of the sea, and how he had nothing left but afti imekri ploki of land." And so I know the sentence already, but it says nothing left but this small plot, and then it finishes of land. So you can see that the Greek is actually woven into the text of the English. This may not be like a beginner thing, but you really don't have to have gone very far. So like upper beginner, maybe you've spent a few months studying Greek, and you could probably begin to use this method just fine. So, "Oh, trouble not yourself about that," said Onanos. And I think that Nanos, I don't remember the story, but I think that's a dwarf. Onanos, yeah, the dwarf. Said Onanos, "only undertake to bring me here 12 chronia hence," so 12 years hence, whatever meets you first on your going spiti, on going home, and I will give you as much as you please." The merchant thought this was kanena spudeo pragma, was not a, I don't know what spudeo means, was not a great, spudeo, all right, spudeo pragma, to ask that it would most likely be oskilostu or igatatu, his dog or his cat. Okay, so I'm not going to continue reading through this, but you can kind of see how the method itself works if you're using it within the context of a book. I've not found that there's enough books or enough literature to really acquire a language through this method. So that is kind of a downside of it. But where I have found, as I mentioned before, is that it can be very effective when you're making flashcards to use this method and go about it this way. So I'm going to go over to Link. Some of you may be familiar with Link, and this is a video I was watching. It's by a girl named Yuli, and she is Greek. She makes videos where she speaks Greek, and it's kind of like a slow Greek, and so that learners can learn. And she talks about Greek language and Greek culture and things that she does in Greece. So if I'm going down this, to protos simadi, I know that the first sign, oti αυτό το triimero, is like a 3-day weekend. The first sign that this weekend, they θα πάει καλά ήταν το φόρεμα, was the dress. So I actually kind of know these words. I could probably move these into the known category, which in Link you don't need to use Link to do this. I just have a story pulled up. But I have this here, and so say I wanted to do I actually saved triimero, is like a 3-day weekend, and I actually saved that. So what I did was I clicked on it, I copied it, and you could do this with anything that you copy in the language. And I took it over to Google Translate, and the only thing I really do with Google Translate is save the word. I want to be able to save it. I already have Trimero saved. It's not wanting to paste. I don't know why that's... So I would paste it here. If you go to down here, you can actually see that I have, I've highlighted it there. Trimero is 3 days. It's like a 3-day weekend. And so then when I make flashcards, I would wait till I had about 30 of them here. You can see some of them are sentence cards. I put those in a different category. I have a thing for sentence mining, and then I have a section where it's only like vocabulary words that I'm learning. And so when I made the vocabulary word, I would take very common English phrases and insert these words into that sentence. So if you think of a word like opportunity, which I'm highlighting here, efkeria, then you would think like it's a missed opportunity, is something it's like a common saying that we would say in English. So my first day of these 30 words that I want to learn, I would make sentences like that. I would write on the front of the flashcard in Anki, and I'm going to do that for you right now. And I'm going to copy this. I click the little copy button there, as you can see, and it says Efkeria. And I'm going to make a flashcard deck for today. So today's date is the 25th of September. And I'm going to create a deck. And I'm just going to use today's date. So 25, the 25th of September, 9 for September 2023. So September 9th, 2023. Okay. And you can see it's made the deck up here. I have some other things from when I was working on the Athenase course, which I never really did a whole lot with, but I posted up a few videos for you guys. I have some of my Greek sentence mining cards, which are like full Greek sentences. That's like a monolingual. I think when I come across sentences that like make sense to me in the context, but I haven't quite learned the word yet, I'll throw them in there. And then these other decks, you can see 2s, 3s, 4s, 6s, 7s. My daughter has been memorizing her math facts, so I created those decks to help her learn, and we go through and review them. So she's about kind of done with some of these now. But I'm going to go into my September deck here that we made, and I'm going to start adding cards. So it'll look like this. I forget the word now. Efkeria. And I'll just say it was a missed, and then I've already copied it. Efkeria. And then on the back of the card, then it will say opportunity. It was a missed opportunity. Efkeria. All right. So obviously, I don't really need to like underline it or anything to know what card it is that I'm doing it, because it's the only one on here that's in Greek. But I know some people like that. But this is just to learn new words, just to learn things that maybe you didn't know before. Okay, so that's the first day. So I'll learn 30 cards, and they'll all be like that. So they should be very easy. I won't need to like repeat them or memorize them or do anything. I'll just go through. They're so that I've already seen them once in the context of a sentence when I was reading Yuli's story, and it said, where is that at? Actually, I've lost it. Efkeria, wherever that's at, it's somewhere on this page. So that was already on there. But actually, it wasn't on that page. It was on a different page. I apologize. It was Trimero that was on there. But so that will be the first day, though, is all of those 30 words from that I saved in my my Google Translate page. They'll all be in sentences like that. So that would be the Diglot weave method. The second thing that I would do is make on the second day. So I've already done those 30. And then the second day, I would make, I'd probably make them all on the same day, but I would only learn the 30 sentence cards that day. Then the second day, I would do things like maybe go to Google, which I already had up. I don't know why I did that. And then look up the definition for opportunity. Opportunity, if I can spell it correctly. Opportunity definition. All right, so we're doing so it is a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. All right, so our next card then on this day would be that we would make the sentence again. So efkeria, and it is, I think, I forgot what that said. I'll just copy and paste it so that it's a little quicker and easier. So it is a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. All right, I'm going to put that there. And then, oh, I don't really like that. I don't like it when it doesn't keep the formatting, but that's okay. Actually, a lot of times what I would actually do is dictate this, but I don't know if it'll work correctly with my recorder on right now, but I can try. All right, hopefully that worked out well. And then again, on the back of the card, we're just going to put the word opportunity. All right. And then the very last thing that we might do that I think is positive to use in this method of learning is we want to use the word from a sentence, oti inemia polika li efkeria, that it is a very good opportunity. And so for this to work, what you really need is for the whole sentence to be comprehensible except for that one word. You really don't want to have that any other words be unknown within the sentence. So everything then would need to be known. And by that point, you should know the word fairly well, but you would format it so that it's underlined. And then the same thing, you would put the translation of the sentence on the back side of the card. All right, so then we're going to underline opportunity so that it's formatted and underlined, and that's it. That would be 3 days worth of cards because you're doing 30 cards. So it's really 10 cards per day, but it's all 30 words on the first day in a very, very simple, easy to follow method because it's like that. It was a missed efkeria. You know that that's opportunity because it's a saying that you would use commonly in English. The second day was that definition that we posted in, and the definition tells you that it's an opportunity. It should cue you in, and you see that efkeria is there, so you learn efkeria really well. And then finally, the last day, you're actually seeing it in the context of the sentence that you initially got it from anyways. So that actually makes it very ingrained in your brain. And so I know people will do these same words for months and months on end. I don't do that though. So I don't know how many of these I will make in a week. At most it would be 2 because that would be 3 days of cards with 30 new cards on the first day, the same 30. So 30 for the 3 days. And then, in the second half of the week, maybe I'll find a whole new set of 30, or I might have already found a whole new set of 30 by then because this isn't the only activity that I'm doing for learning vocabulary. I'm also out reading and doing stuff. So I'm kind of accruing words over time. And yeah, so these are just certain ones that I've chosen to kind of keep in my list. And in that case, maybe I'll go through 2 sets of these per week, but no more than that. And usually not that many, not 2 every week. So, Yeah, so I mean, I guess maybe two, like 1.5 per week, because I might take a day or two in between and just do some reading, do immersion, but I kind of keep them going at different times, and then so you can see there's only 3 in there because I just made the deck and I only put those 3 in, but there would normally after you did the whole round there would end up being 90 words in there, or 90 cards, but you would only do 30 new ones per day. And so then I would do that for about a month, and then after a month, and when I say for a month, what I mean is that I would keep this deck open for a month. So it'll give it to you in a spaced repetition system. So you'll see it on the first day, a couple times, and then on the second day you'll see it again that day. 3 days later it'll come up, then 7 days, and then like 12 to 15 days or something after that. And by that time, you will have actually gone through a month. And if you're remembering these words after 12 to 15 days later, you're probably going to have them pretty well ingrained in your brain at that point. You'll probably come across them with, monthly after that, which is about where the algorithm for Anki tells you that you'll come through the next spaced repetition system. So you will have seen these cards a significant number of times by that time. So the vocabulary that you're learning this way will be strongly ingrained in your brain. So this is how, as kind of more of an intermediate language, that I learn new vocabulary and continue learning a language which I already know well enough to speak on a very simple level, have basic conversations with people in the airport and things like that. But this is not how, as a beginner, I would do some of these things. But you could, but it's just not how I've done it. So I will come back, and I guess as an upper beginner is what I said at the beginning, you could, and that probably is a good thing. But I'm going to make another one on some of my Latin practice, and that video will kind of cover what I'm doing with Latin and look at it from more of a beginner method where I'm not using the Diglot weave flashcard method. So you guys take it easy, and I'll talk to you in a video coming very soon.